What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the vlog. As always, I'm Dookie Betts. Today we've got Bankroll Challenge episode number 4 for you guys. We're going to be playing 1-3 Match the Stack in our local private home game. For those of you who don't know, we're trying to make $10,000 in 400 hours playing live poker this summer. We left off episode 3 down about $2,100 in about 50 hours. We ran pretty poorly in some bigger sessions. We also didn't really play that great in episode 3, so a lot to build on. We've got to make a little bit of a comeback here so far. Since that last episode was posted, we've played one session off camera. We played 1-2 at Bally's. We played for about 9 hours and won a massive $150. So that brings our challenge totals to this. As you guys can see, we're down about $2,000 and about 60 hours of work. I'll be using Left Pocket Bankroll Tracker to track all of my data, all of my stats throughout the entirety of this challenge. Left Pocket is a great tool because you can see all of your metrics, all of your data, all consolidated nicely in one easy to read format. I really like Left Pocket, and if you guys want to check it out, go use the link down below. I highly suggest doing so. Last but not least, guys, if you enjoy the video and you want to see more, make sure to go follow me on Instagram down below, as well as drop a like and a subscribe on the video as well. About 70% of you aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy what you see and you want to see more, I highly suggest subscribing as well. But yeah, guys, that's really all I got. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. Let's turn some sand into gold. Alright guys, hopping right into the action we go. We get into the game at around 7:30 at night. We come in for 500 bucks, and after getting crushed for the last few weeks, we're gonna try and keep things simple tonight. Main goals being play solid pre-flop, tighten up a bit, and when we do choose to enter a pot, we're gonna fight hard to win. First eventful hand of the night comes about 20 minutes after we pop a squat at the table. The hand begins when we see the +1 player limp in for $3. I'm next to act, I peel pocket jacks, and I toss in $15 worth of betting discs. It folds over to the button player, who's our friend Max. Max is a super solid player, rather aggressive and tough to play against, so not much surprise at all here when he decides to raise things up to $55 to go. It folds back to the under the gun limper, who now calls. This is the first decision point of this hand. I think we have a fairly straightforward 4-bet here. We certainly don't want to go 3 ways with pocket jacks. I also think that the limp caller here is probably going to be dead money. So for these reasons, we decide to put in the spicy 4-bet to $155. We're going to see Max on the button, think things over for quite some time, and then eventually flick in the call. The player to our right who limp called is going to fold his holding, so we're headed heads up out of position to the flop. With about $370 in the middle, we're going to get an ace-high flop, which certainly isn't ideal. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure that we're meant to be range betting this board when we 4-bet, so when I decide to check in-game, I think I'm turning my hand a bit face up. However, much to my delight, the button checks back, so we're headed to the turn. The turn rolls off the ace of clubs, which I think is a pretty good card. Obviously, it's less likely that the button is going to have an ace-x holding now, like ace-king or ace-queen. In-game, I decide to lead here for $70, going about 20% pot. Looking back on this, I'm not all too sure what this bet accomplishes. I'm certainly not going to be getting called by worse hands, and I'm most definitely not folding out better. So for this reason, I think I should probably be checking once again on the turn. Anyways, after we bet $70, the button pretty quickly calls, and we're going to the river with about half my monthly rent in the middle. The river rolls off the ace of spades, and this is a very interesting card. We improve to a boat, but it's very much unclear whether or not our boat is going to be the best hand here. I'm not really sure how much ace-king, ace-queen, pocket kings, or pocket queens Max is going to have when he plays in this fashion. I think he would likely be finding some bets with ace-x on the flop, given that we're really deep. I also think he might find a 5-bet jam pre-flop with a hand like king-king or queen-queen. However, given that this is a 4-bet pot and the board ran out this way, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to get called by a worse hand here. After quite a bit of thought, I really had no idea what to do, so I randomly clicked buttons and decided to bet $45 for about 10% pot. Max hits the tank for about 30 seconds and then eventually calls with pocket tens, so we're going to be able to take this one down with our pocket jacks. Looking back on this hand, I think we probably win a bit more money in the long run by checking the river and allowing Max to bluff with some king-high Broadway cards when he has those. At the end of the day, we kind of look like a genius because we ended up getting value from probably the only worst worse hand that is willing to call a bet on the river here. But rest assured, guys, I promise you, I'm just a chimpanzee clicking buttons. We totally just got lucky in the spot, and like I said, we got called by the one hand that we're pretty much beating here. At the end of the day, though, we did win the pot. About 20 minutes later, we play hand number 2. We see the low jack open things up to $20 over a $6 straddle. The hijack and the cutoff want to see a flop as well when they throw in 20 bucks. It folds over to me in the big blind. I pick up ace queen offsuit and come to the conclusion that I would like to play for more money. I find the 3-bet to $125, sizing up because of dead money as well as being out of position. It's gonna get back over to Max, and he decides to rip things all in for $361. When the action quickly folds back to me, we have a decision to make. We're calling 236 to win a pot that would be 769, which means we need to be right about 30% of the time. Given that we have so much money in the middle already, I think this spot is pretty close. Ultimately, we decide that folding is boring and we flick in the call. Unfortunately for us, we're up against pocket queens. We run things 3 times, and we do not win any of these runouts. We add on for another $300, and we're now in the game for 800 bucks. So far today, I've covered 2 hands, and I don't really think I've played either of them very well. Let's take a look at a hand that I'm proud of. We're playing 1-3-6 with the under the gun straddle on. We see the middle position player open the action to $20. It's going to fold over to us in the cutoff. We peel pocket kings, and we find the 3-bet to $65. It's going to fold back to the original raiser, who's going to put in the call. Heads up in position to the flop. We get a pretty bad board of 6, 7, 8, two-tone with 2 hearts. Middle position's going to check and flow, and I decide to find a pretty standard check back here. This board is going to be really bad for our range, so we're going to be doing a lot of checking on these low connected boards. The turn rolls off the 8 of diamonds, pairing the top card and bringing in a second flush draw. The middle position player now leads out for $35, going about 25% pot. I think if he has a worse pocket pair, or a hand that's drawing like a straight or a flush draw, he's likely going to be calling a raise here. We raise for value as well as protection. We find a size of 130 bucks here. This player flips up his cards as if he's ready to muck them, and then begrudgingly flicks in the call. The river comes the 5 of clubs. He checks, and we snap check it back. Certainly too thin to go for value here when the 4-liner comes in. We announce pocket kings, and he says no good. We lose to queen 9 of diamonds for a rivered straight. Pretty tough river here, but I overall think we played this hand pretty well. At around 9 p.m., we see the low jack player limp in for $3, and this is followed up by a cutoff raise to 15 bucks and a button call. We peel pocket 4s in the small blind and decide to flick in the $15 in attempts to go set mining. The flop comes jack 6 deuce, two-tone board with 2 clubs. We completely whiff here. Interestingly enough though, it's going to end up checking all the way around, so we're going to get a turn card for free. The turn is pretty magical. We get the 4 of diamonds. After a check through on the flop and we hit our money card, I'm just going to come out here and pot it. We bet $60 into about 63. We get called by the low jack, and everyone else in the hand folds, so we're now heads up to the river. The river comes the 10 of clubs, which certainly isn't the best card. I don't really think this player is going to take these actions with many flushes, but the flush completing is going to make our job a bit more difficult in terms of getting paid. After a bit of thought, I fire out here for $80. I actually meant to go 90 for half pot, but I grabbed the wrong amount of red chips. This player considers his options for a bit and then eventually calls. We table our hand, and it's very much good. Looking back on this hand, I like my line. However, I do think I can extract a bit more value. We bet about half pot on the river. I think we can probably go B75 or B66 or something like that. And if he's got a top pair, he's probably just going to flick it in. So yes, we did get 2 streets of value, but I do think we could have squeezed out a bit more here on the river. That brings us to hand number 5 on the night. And this hand was one of the more stranger hands I've played this summer, I think. We're playing 3-6 with the $6 button straddle on from yours truly. We see the under the gun player, once again my friend Gage, open to $20, and this is followed by a low jack call. I peel ace king offsuit on the button and find the mandatory 3-bet to $80. It gets back to under the gun, and he's gonna put in the 4-bet here to 180 bucks. The low jack player folds, and for $100 more, I flick in the call looking to play in position. Once again, heads up here with our buddy Gage. We get a flop of ace-ace-king, which is a bit overkill. It might be pretty difficult for us to lose this one. We're hoping that Gage finds some sort of c-bet here, but unfortunately he doesn't. He taps the table riverroll, and it's over to us. I think we have a pretty easy check back here. We block so much of the value that Gage can have here, so we decided to just check it back and allow him to maybe catch up a bit, maybe start turning some hands into bluffs. The turn rolls off the King of Hearts, and this card really pissed me off. If we had an opportunity to cooler some sort of worse ace-x, like ace-queen or something, those dreams are now long gone. It's also going to make it way more difficult to get value from a hand like pocket queens or pocket jacks. When Gage checks for a second time, we certainly have to try to get some value. We fire out for $70, going about 20% pot. Gage thinks about it for a bit and then finds the call. The river rolls off the 6 of spades, which doesn't really change anything. Gage checks for a third time, and my first instinct here was to shove for value, but after a bit of thought, I realized that that makes no sense at all. When we get to this river, we're either going to be chopping with the case ace or find some sort of crying call from the case king. I don't really think that any other hands in his range want to call a bet on the river, so if we're going to get value here, we need to go super small and target the case king. We land on a size of $120, and after a bit of tanking, Gage puts in the call. We win the pot, which ended up being about 800 bucks here. Gage later told us that he called with pocket queens for a queen high hero call. It seemed really hard to get value on this run out, but I guess I'm thankful for friends that don't believe me. We go the next hour or so without really doing much. We've been pretty card dead, so at 10:40 at night, when we see an open to $12 and then a call from middle position, low jack, cutoff, and the small blind, we decide to get in there from the big blind with 5-4 of hearts. 6 ways to a flop, we get queen 4-4, rainbow board, pretty good stuff here. Obviously mega multi-way here, we're going to start with a check out of the big blind. It's going to end up checking all the way around, and we get the 6 of clubs on the turn. The small blind goes for a check once again, and now we definitely want to be putting some money in the middle here. We choose a size of $55, and this gets called promptly by under the gun 2, as well as middle position and the small blind. 4 ways to a river, we get the jack of clubs. Obviously this card completes some flushes, so when we see the small blind player lead jam for $108, I think we're going to be beat a lot. Even though it's a pretty small size relative to the pot, this player is fairly ABC, and I don't really think he's going to have a worse hand than ours often when he starts with a lead jam. The final nail in the coffin here is the fact that we have 2 players behind us still to act, so ultimately I decide that we have to fold our 3 of a kind holding. Following our fold, we see Gage and under the gun 2 flick in the call. The middle position player is going to fold. Gage rolls over the king high flush, and our friend in the small blind flashes a 5 high flush, so it looks like we were beat in multiple spots. And that's going to bring us to our final hand of the night, which takes place at around midnight. It folds to us in UTG2, we're playing 10-handed here. We peel 7-2 offsuit and open the action to $15. For those of you who don't know, we have the 7-2 bounty game on, so if we can win the pot with this hand, everyone at the table will pay us 10 bucks. Like I said, currently we're 10-handed, so we would be winning $90 for our efforts here. After our open, we see our friend Kenny immediately to our left call in middle position, and the big blind defends as well. Not a bad start, but we still have to get through 2 more opponents. We get a flop of jack 8-3 with 2 clubs. The big blind checks and flow, and typically I would be checking when we're monkey in the middle here, but with the added incentive to generate folds, we're just gonna stab here for $20. Kenny's gonna flick in the call, and the big blind's gonna get out of the way, so we only have 1 more opponent left to go. The turn comes the 9 of diamonds. We decide to slow down and check here. In the past, a big leak in my game, especially in this game, has been mindlessly tripling it off with 7-2 offsuit in attempts to win the bounty. I guess I have an ego problem, but yeah, it's just been a big leak of mine. My main plan of attack here is to fold if Kenny bets on the turn. If Kenny checks it back, we can likely rule out some top pair holdings, because all of those would be finding value protection bets here on this 2-tone turn card. When Kenny does ultimately check it back here, I think we have the green light to go ahead and bluff the river. The river comes the 6 of clubs, and in a weird way, I kind of like this river card because we block some flushes with our 7 of clubs. Additionally, I don't really see Kenny playing a flush draw in this manner. We're gonna put our big boy pants on here and fire for $125 over betting the pot. Kenny's gonna think about it for quite a while, and just watch this hand play out for yourself.
Fuck! 7 news guys. Fuck!
After this hand, we play for a bit longer, but nothing really interesting came out of it. All in all, we were in for $800, out for $1,160 in about 6.5 hours of work. Not a bad session at all, and I'm happy that we were able to book a nice win and begin to turn things around in this summer challenge. Yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up the session today. All in all, our challenge totals are looking like this. Slowly climbing out of the hole that we dug for ourselves. Not a bad result in this video. Next video, we'll be playing a $1, $2 private home game at K. Boulet's Garage. That video is going to be sick. We played a lot of interesting hands in that one. And then following that, we'll be in Las Vegas the week after. A lot of good content coming for you guys in the future. If you guys want to see either of those videos, make sure to go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications. Make sure to follow me on Instagram as well. I'll leave a link down below. You guys tuning in and supporting these videos makes it all possible, so I really thank you guys if you made it to this point in the video. I'll see you guys next week in episode number 5, and until then, I'm Dookie Betts.